Hello, everyone. Thank you
Hello.
guys so much for joining us tonight. Welcome to another episode of School Life Ready Talks. I'm Dr. Cecelia Lynch Mitchell, Pediatric Occupational Therapist. And as usual, I'm here with my friend, partner, co host, Jen. How are
Hello.
you, Jen?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Your lighting is a little dark tonight.
Oh, is it darker than usual? It's just
Darker than usual, but no
the sun
worries,
is
no
setting.
worries.
Yeah, I'll have to get a new lamp. I'm sorry about that.
No worries. So, tonight's episode is really about checking in with parents and seeing if parents are having concerns about
Right.
their kids' development and school functioning skills, and really just trying to touch base with parents, and so parents can know what to do in the case if they're having concerns about their children's school skills. But before I get into it, I know you had an IEP meeting. So
I did have an IEP meeting. You know, they're always very nerve-wracking, but once you get them over with, it's satisfying. To knock that off your list.
I know. So for your IP meeting was for your older child who
Correct.
is in fifth grade.
Yes, he's going
So
to sixth grade.
he'll be going to sixth grade. So he'll be going to sixth grade in our here in Georgia. Our school year starts in
In
August.
August, yeah.
So your child will be going to sixth grade in August,
Yes,
transitioning from elementary into middle, and that's a very big transition.
right.
So with your IP meeting,
Mhm.
did they address transitioning at this IP or not yet?
Not yet, but it was, they did explain to me, just as you did, how the steps are done when transitioning over to middle school. I was satisfied with that.
Okay, so what did they say was it are the steps, or what are the crucial
Yeah,
parts
so
of an
they let me
IEP?
Yeah, so they let me know that in January they actually start matching the students with their teachers, and I guess the schools communicate. And so they let me know that we would be having another IEP meeting, and I would more than likely be meeting my son's teacher at that meeting.
So
Uh,
your son's teacher for
Middle school,
the
sixth.
okay, so the IP meeting that you had now was just an IP meeting because the IP lasts for a year. So
Right,
that year has passed. So this IP meeting now would have lasted for an entire year. However, being that he's transitioning to middle school, they
right,
will meet before the end of the school year to
right.
discuss where a new IP will be developed that will cover his first year of middle school.
Yes.
Perfect, perfect. Oh, I'm so excited. I'm glad that you were able to be calm down and understand the process a little bit more. Although you are mom extraordinaire, it's always a learning. It's like as your child goes through this process of special education,
Sure.
it's always something to learn. And even myself as a provider of special education services or related to special education services, because that's what occupational therapy is. It's a related service to special education. um, Even for me, I'm always learning. I'm always learning of the process, and I
Yes.
do my best to have as much information so I can help guide my parents, the people who trust me and look to me for guidance. So
Yeah,
I'm
and
glad
I'm
I
one
was.
of those people. I was on the phone with you at like 9 o'clock at night while I was picking out an outfit. So yes,
Yeah,
I've definitely
because
been there.
and the thing is, like, I needed to like set the expectations for you, but at the
Yes,
same time leave room for you to not be so leave room for you to get the information and take in the information without me giving you all of the information up front. So
right.
I'm glad I was able to talk to you before the meeting.
Yes, me too.
So and that brings us to tonight's topic,
Sure.
right? So guys, Jen has been in the process. She has two children, ages 11 and 7, 11 and 8. What age?
10 and 7.
10 and 7.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm aging your older one a little bit. So it's
Yeah.
10 and 7. So he's really, and that's the other thing, he's a young middle school, rising middle schooler, because most children start middle school at 11. He's still going to be 10
He
when
will
he
still be
starts.
10. Yes.
Wow. Okay. So, yeah, so it's this time of year now wherein we're having parent teachers conferences.
That's right.
Did you do parent teachers conferences already in your school district?
So we have, yes. And one thing that I really appreciated from this year was that the teacher did a self-evaluation. Sorry, the teacher had the children do a self-evaluation, and I definitely was able to see the areas that my child is confident, in, and then which areas he's
So
struggling. So
was it for both children that did the self-evaluation, or is it just for the older fifth grader?
no, funny enough, it was for my youngest
Oh,
child.
they did it?
It
But
wasn't for my eldest.
that's a great skill, and I really wish, I don't know if my school district
Yeah.
employs that method of self-evaluation, but what a great experience
Yeah. I think it's
for
based
children.
Yeah, I think it's based off of the teacher. We've been in our district for some time, and I haven't had that. But he's getting older, and things are different between both children. One is in a self-contained classroom, and the other is in a um, neurotypical classroom, if you will.
Okay, so your child had one child is in self-contained, so in
Yes.
that class are only children with disabilities,
Yes.
some diagnosed or eligible um
Disability.
disabilities,
Yes.
and your other child, your younger child, your 7-year-old,
Yeah.
is in a class with typically developing children,
Yes.
but he receives special education
Yes.
services.
Yes.
Okay, and okay, so that was really good. So I love that idea of teachers using that self-assessment to check for the children to know their strengths and weaknesses.
Right.
So how did your younger son do on the evaluation, on the self? How did he like rate himself, or what?
He did amazing. It was quite funny because where it asked him if he does well in writing and reading, and he put not really. Yeah, just laughed.
Not really. Well, hey, well,
Yeah,
he realizes he
he
has
does,
some
and there's
weaknesses there.
room for improvement right there. So
Yeah,
you know, yeah, but I like the fact that it gives them an opportunity to evaluate themselves and see where they can put a little bit more effort.
right. Because at this time when it is good to know, and I would love to hear from other parents if they are experiencing that in their school district, wherein their children are getting to assess themselves, in the different domains of, what kids need to work on. Because typically, um, when teachers are making assessments in order to have parent teachers conferences, they're
Right.
looking at the children overall. They're looking at their academic skills, they're looking at their behavioral or emotional skills, and they're also looking overall at their social skills as well. So a lot of times, you will find that parents also have the same concerns. Is my child having difficulty academically? Are they
Right.
um, having problems with learning how to read, especially if it's like a kindergarten? You're like, okay, then they've been in school for a few months now.
Right.
How is their reading? How is their writing? Are they able to follow the classroom routines? Are they still having problems wherein they have problems separating from their parents?
Mm-hmm.
Um, do they have problems with meltdowns at school? I know in the beginning of the school year, like the first week or two, there was so much crying. You would be walking in the hallways, and I mean, children were crying. And these are definitely 5 year olds, because the youngest child in any kindergarten class is a 5 year old, you know?
Right.
So they're 5 year olds or older, and they're crying. And so at this stage of the game, if your child is still crying, if your child is having difficulty remembering things, having, or even just waking up saying, I hate school.
Right.
Those are
Another
real red flags.
Another red flag that I think a lot of people miss is stomach aches. That's how a lot of children, when they're anxious, they feel like their stomach hurts. And that to me, or my youngest would say that his head hurt. And so that to me was like a red flag. What's going on? What do I need to, figure out?
Yes, children, there, and in school as well, if they are constantly, you have to be sending them to the nurse,
Mm-hmm.
because they're complaining that something hurts, or having to use the bathroom.
Yeah.
That's a big escape mechanism. If
Right.
always having to go get water, or having to use the bathroom, that's another red flag that
Right.
something is going on with your child. So if you are feeling at this stage of the game, or if after you meet with your teachers for your parent teachers conferences, and if you are having concerns, guys, follow your gut.
Yes. Please follow your gut. And we need to be able to evaluate academics, behavioral, and social, signs. And for my children, I always notice the emotional signs first. I see, like, I'll have teachers, and I think I've shared this before, where they tell me that my child is so amazing, and then I'll text them back and be like, send that child home because I'm not getting that. But then that to me was a reflection. If my children are falling apart when they get home, it is a clue that they've had a hard day and it's taken a lot out of them. So then if they have homework that day, we're not doing it. I want them to be able to um to not pour from an empty cup, to just have a clear energy, clear vessels. We ask a lot of these children. They sit in school for a very long time.
Yes, and Jen, that's a very good point that you made,
Thank you.
because there are children who they keep it together in school.
Yep.
They keep it together in school, and then you as a parent, is when they get home, you're seeing all these signs,
Oh, from the
and you,
second they get in the car,
yeah, or as soon as they get in the car,
slamming
absolutely.
the doors.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily because of what's going on at home.
Right.
It can be the fact that they held it together
All day.
so much. It took so much out of them. So even if your child is doing well in school as per the teacher,
Right.
but you are seeing these emotional breakdowns, these complaints of somatic symptoms, which is the tummy hurting, the head hurting, the ears hurting,
Right.
you're seeing these signs, it's it's also good to speak with the teacher and let them know that these things are happening, and know that although yes, most times when your child needs extra support in school,
Hmm.
it's usually due to how your child is performing or not performing in school. You can still get support to help them through school, to help them to be better at home.
Yes.
So be okay with having that conversation with your teacher. If your teacher is telling you little Johnny is doing so great, he's awesome, and you know that at home little Johnny is falling apart, because it his behaviors at home may also be related to what's going on in school. So it's good for you to do that deep dive with your teacher and have that conversation. And as I said before, and Jen and I have said on a previous episode, even if you don't have any concerns about your child necessarily, please go to your teachers' conferences.
Yes.
Keep in communication with your teachers, because home and school are intertwined.
Yes. It carries over and vice versa, right? Vice versa. I can't talk today. I'm sorry.
That's
But it's true, like yesterday we played hooky. They didn't go to school. They were up late the night before, and the morning was just, it was slow. It was so slow that I was rushing them, and then I just thought, it's Monday. I'm rushing them out the door. I already know that this is going to be a bad day. I'm just setting them up for failure. So then I just kept them home because that was the best thing. I knew that they were tired. So yeah, so it's identifying those items, and same thing with school. It's identifying if they're social butterflies. Why aren't they excelling in academics? Or if they are academically excelling, we want them to also be social. So that everything needs to counterbalance.
yes, because we try to have, and I always say that to whenever we look at function, we have to
Sure.
look at mind and body,
Yes.
right? It's not just one thing. It's not just academics. It's
No.
being able to have the skills to perform academically, but also we are social beings, and
Yes.
school is an institution wherein we do so much social interaction, and so much of what we do at school is um, it's about socializing, having friends, communicating. um, there's so much more that goes into a child's day than just doing academics. But if you do feel like you something is off, the next step is to understand what the school can do to help to provide your support. And every child is going to look different, but
Yes.
parents, you are the expert on your child. You might not be able to label it, you might not be able to fully articulate it.
Mm-hmm.
So the best thing to do is just say it how you're feeling it, right? Or what you're sensing. Like, have the conversation with the teacher. The first place to start is with your classroom teacher.
And
um
then it could be something as simple as asking the teachers to collect data to see, what times of the day are they upset. Like we did that with my oldest. I think I've shared this before, and we realized that math was not a great subject to have in the morning. We needed to move that towards the afternoon. So just little changes like that can definitely help.
and for Jen's children, they, well, at least, yeah, they both have IEPs now.
Yes.
But for the older one, had an IEP, but the younger one didn't have an IEP. at some point. So whether your child has an IEP or not, teachers are willing to make those small adjustments
Mm-hmm.
to help your child, because having an IP is a process,
Yep.
right? And a lot of times teachers like to do the little things to see if they can create the change then, instead of, going through the whole process to developing an IP or developing a 504 plan, which is otherwise called an accommodation plan. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times teachers will make little adjustments informally in the classroom based on the conversation that they're having with you as the parent.
Right.
But once those little things are done, and if they're not seeing anything, or not seeing any changes, or those little things are not making a difference, then there is another step, which is a more formal step, which is called the RTI step, which is
Mm-hmm.
response. The acronym is RTI. It means response to intervention.
Mm-hmm.
So this is when they start documenting now, saying, okay, um let me document that we have changed where he sits. He no
Right.
longer sits next to the window because
Mm-hmm.
he's always looking out the window, right? And he's not doing his work. Or they might say, oh, we have tried using a visual timer. We have put this in place. So now they'll start documenting the interventions that they're putting in place. They might start pulling them for reading so that they're getting more one-on-one reading time, or giving them extra time to complete these works. But these things now, they're now documented, because what they're doing is building to see what the child needs. So
Mm-hmm.
once they get this information, they can now determine if the child needs um, to be evaluated for special ed. So before the evaluation takes place, there's always some intervention, and that's
Yes.
what happened with, more so with your
Yeah.
younger one, Jen.
Yes, and I do want to touch on that. So with an RTI, there's a lot of data, and it took us. We had an RTI in kindergarten, and then didn't get an IEP until the end of first grade. So it is a lengthy process. We go through different, at least here in my district, we went through, I think we had like 3 different phases that we had to go through. And then once the new school year started, they had to go through it again to make sure that he really needed the support. And then after that is when I went and I had my own evaluation done. And then I brought that back to the schools and called for an IEP. So it takes time, but I promise it's worth it.
It definitely takes time, because the RTI is like a tiered process.
Yeah.
So they'll say, we'll start, do they start at tier one and go to three, or they start at three and go to one? I don't remember.
I can't remember how mine was done. I want to say we started at 1 and then we went all the way up to tier 3 and then
Right. So
they
like,
did their own
so the
evaluation.
first tier would be like, they'll start with basic
Yes.
intervention. So they might start with, okay, we'll just pull him. If it's a reading issue, we'll just pull him 20 minutes a day for reading. And then, or we'll give him longer time on assignments. And then when those if those things don't make a difference, then
Yes.
that's when they bump it up and they go to tier two, and then they'll say, okay, we that wasn't working, we make it more intense.
Yes.
And then if that doesn't work, then we're like, okay, we need to give more. And then they get to the point where if those not working, then they'll go for the evaluation. Now, you said something very important, Jen.
Sure.
So your special education evaluation, was
Yes.
it done by a private entity, a psychological private entity, or was it done by your school district?
So it was done by our school,
Okay.
and it was done by our school, but then that didn't count. We needed to have a private one, and that was
Oh,
something that I didn't know, and I don't know if that's special to my district, but yes, I ended up having to have my own private evaluation done so that it supported what the school found, and then I was able to get my son accommodated.
oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
I know there a lot of times there are parents who choose they would rather um, the child be evaluated outside of the school by a psychologist, and
Yes.
they choose to do that. I don't think the school pays for that
No.
necessarily because the school have their own psychologists. I know
Mhm.
in my district they have their own psychologists who do the testing, but for some reason there are some parents who don't believe in having the school psychologists do the testing,
Mhm.
and parents have that right to do that. I personally don't really think it makes a big difference, but it's up to the parents. That it's up to you guys how you all want to approach that. So if it gets to the point where your child needs it's recommended that they be evaluated for special education, that's actually a good sign that you're on track to getting the support that your child needs.
Yes, and that's what I was going to add is when I did get that evaluation back, it moved fairly quickly. Like we had an IEP within just a couple of days. I think it was like 30, 60 days. So it moved pretty quickly with, just knowing I knew my kid was having issues in pre-K. So to me, that took just a very long time. And I was willing to do anything to push it through.
And that's the other thing, guys. So an IEP is an individualized educational plan
Yes.
wherein there are goals on there that your child is expected to work on. However, your child is not limited to those goals. They're still expected to learn the materials that all the other kids are learning at. It's just that um, they're not expected to get an A and everything to move to
Right.
or even pass it in terms of testing to move on to the next grade. But your child still gets taught the same thing all the other kids are getting taught on,
Yeah.
but their movement to the next grade is based on their performance on those goals specifically that was set forth in their IEP, not necessarily grades. That's the thing with an IEP though, that in that IEP it really helps to create the environment that your child needs best. So, and they call those accommodations. So,
Yes.
for example, your child might need a smaller class setting, or your
Mhm.
child might need to have a calculator to do math. Or your child might need um, a computer software program to type or
Mhm.
produce written work. If you're depending on it's all based on what your child's needs are. So an
Yeah.
IEP is, and it's supposed to be, individualized to your child's education. It like no two kids have the same IEPs
Mhm.
because it's all based on where your child is and what your child's needs are. So if it gets to the point where you have an IEP, then at least you know that your child is getting some support for those areas of concerns um, that you did have in the first place. Now, not every child is going to qualify. Well, not every child who gets tested for special ed, qualifies for special ed. There's
Mhm.
criteria and benchmarks that have to be met. So, yes, your child might be struggling in some areas, but they do not have enough of a deficit to to qualify for special ed. So then that's when you as parents are now going to have to decide, um, and this goes back to our last session that we had, Jen, or our last podcast that we had, when we spoke about, is it counseling your child needs? Is it tutoring your child needs? Is it mentoring your child needs? Right. So then you have to then say, okay, my child doesn't qualify for an IEP, qualify for special ed. So my child can have an IEP. What else is there? And then that's when you can have a conversation with the school to find out what else is there. And then there are times when you will have to have a conversation with outside providers like myself and see, okay, what it is, we can provide. Could it be speech therapy, occupational therapy, tutoring, mental health counseling, whatever the needs are. But believe that there is something and someone out there to help you. There's nothing wherein you have to feel like, oh my goodness, my child needs help and there's no one to help. It
Yeah.
sometimes is really exploring to see what. And sometimes, because I've heard parents who say, my child really needs speech therapy, but the only speech therapy they have available right now is virtual, and I don't want virtual. Sometimes we have to take a step back and say, you know what, it may not be the most optimal thing right now, but let's start with something.
Yeah, I think that sometimes schools assume that we already know, what services or what to ask for, but we don't. So that's where I need to take the opportunity to educate ourselves, whether that's speaking to the schools, speaking to friends, speaking to, just asking people. I've had people that realize that I have a child with special needs and will come up to me and ask me about different resources, and I'm so happy to help. So just asking other parents, building your own communities, what we like to say here. So you are your child's best advocate.
Yeah, and parents do, just like us having this podcast is really just to help to share information. And parents like Jen love to share information because they understand the struggles, they understand the emotional impact of especially when you didn't even really see a real issue, but now that your child has started school and it's a whole new environment for them, and now you're learning, oh my goodness, my child might have a learning disability. It's something that we it takes parents getting used to that and getting used to all the different things that come with having a child with special needs, or having a child with a learning disability, or having a child who needs extra support in school. It always comes with a little angst. It's never something that parents are like, whoa, oh goodness, I'm so happy my child has a learning disability. It always comes with a little negative emotions. But the good thing is, when you know that there's support and when you know there are people out there who are willing to help, it helps to lessen that angst. And I'll let you speak on this for a little bit, Jen, because I've seen your transition. Well, a lot of parents, you guys spend too much time worrying or being anxious, or trying to already know what the outcome is going to be. And I'm here to say this to you, and I know Jen will follow up on this. Is like, yes, we do understand just learning about that your child may need extra support can bring, some negative emotions of anxiety or depression or just hopelessness at some point. But know that there is no need for that. The quicker you get to the point of accepting and just letting go, just
Right.
don't try to control the process so
Yeah.
much. And I remember when Jen was trying to control the process. And when you realize that if you just let go and let things flow, because everything always ends up exactly how it's supposed to end up. So the quicker you, as parents, we let go of that control or that need to know exactly what's going to happen, the easier the process is. I've had parents who have gotten really sick. I've had parents who have had strokes,
Oh
just
yeah. I
just
believe it.
just dealing with the fact that they have a child with who needs who has special needs. So
Yeah.
just really just taking it day by day and trying not to be so overwhelmed in the process. We, everybody who is in the school, we're here to help you. Your friends, your family, other parents, we're here to help you. And the quicker we de-stress. So Jen, just piggyback on that a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, no, I mean, like you said, I've definitely been there. I've definitely had those feelings of uncertainty, of just second guessing myself, asking myself if I should be worried, who should I reach out to? And it wasn't until I let go a little bit and I realized that I needed to start delegating what was going on. So I went to my speech therapist, my child speech therapist, to focus just on speech. What are the things that I should be focusing on in that aspect? And Dr. Cecelia was our occupational therapist. I bug her for everything in my life, but that's one of the things that I would go to her and say, okay, so what should he be doing? So it was just kind of understanding that there are little parts to the puzzle and that I needed to put it together to figure out what I needed to focus on. So the second thing that I did was creating a plan of action, and I feel like that's an IEP meeting to me, is setting those goals and then looking at the data to see how my child meets his goals. So for example, at this IEP meeting, we've done, all of the beautiful, amazing tests that the county makes us do. And we saw that he doesn't do well on computer. He does better when it's given to him on paper. He
Mm,
doesn't click as quickly. He has to actually focus and think. And so that was data, right? Where we were able to see that in the past years, he's had this test done over a computer, but now here we did it on paper and he did well. I mean, he did exceptionally well. And so like I said, it's just being able to understand that you can't control everything. So delegating a little bit of it to take a little bit of that weight off of your shoulders. Also, I'm a mother to another child, so I also knew that I needed to leave some room and energy to be able to also focus on that child and focus on myself. Self-care comes first. As a mom, you always take care of yourself first, and then, you put that mask on your child just like you would on an airplane. But that would be my sum of how I handled those early years of realizing that something was going on, if you
yeah.
will.
So when you start the process, guys, we do understand it's going to be a little nerve-wracking.
Yes.
And
Like
that you have
everything, right? Like everything is nerve wracking.
like everything. Yeah, you're doing something for the first time. Because for parents, and I've seen it with my daily work, for parents who have several children with disabilities, the first one's a little tough, the second one not so tough, the third one, they get the process, they get to understand it, and all of their children may have had different needs, and sometimes all of the children may have the same needs because whatever is going on is may be genetic, and so because of that, the parents are familiar with the process of their children, because in some cases one child is totally different from the other child, but in some cases, the children may be similar, and so the parents are better able to deal with it because they understand what happened with the older kids, so they can follow. And there are times when it's nowhere close and it's a whole different process and everything.
Yeah.
But either way, I want parents to know that they have rights, that are legal rights, and they have protections under the law as it pertains to their children. So, parents, you have the right to request an evaluation if you suspect that your child has a disability that's affecting his or her ability to perform in school. You have the right to request an evaluation. You have a right to be part of that meeting. Like, when an IP is formed, you are part of that team. So your input is just as important as the teachers and the other service providers. So you have that right as well. You also have a right to access all of your children's records. Any test they did, any data that was collected on them, you have a right to see that data, and you have a right to any reports that were generated. Um, and guess what? You have a right to disagree or agree to any decision that is made for your child. So know that you have all these rights. And with those rights, though, also come responsibilities, right?
Right.
So yes, you have those rights, but you also have responsibilities as it pertains to your child. So it's your responsibility to start from now in making sure that you are communicating regularly and respectfully
Mm-hmm.
with the school staff, not just the teachers, because sometimes your child might have several teachers, right? Not just the main classroom teacher, because your child might be having a really hard time in, say, music, or they might be having a hard time during art. So those classes are what we call electives or connections or specials. They're not the core classes. So, but your children go to these classes. So make sure that you are communicating with as many of the teachers as possible. Make sure that you share information of what's going on at home. A lot of times, parents, and I get it, I understand, you feel like what's going on at home may be private and you don't want to share it. But if it's wherein it's has to do with your child and how your child is doing, as Jen and I said earlier, there are things wherein your child is holding it together at school, but at home they're falling apart. It's important to share that.
Right.
Make sure that you are following through with strategies at home to help to support your child education at school, and make sure that you are keeping whatever documentations, whether it be emails, reports, progress notes, everything in one place, so that if you ever need to look back at something, you have it readily right there for you. So these are just little things to keep you organized and in touch with what's going on with your child.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's something that I keep. I keep a binder with all of the teachers' notes, especially in the beginning. Like I shared, is I had such a difficult time with my child getting an actual IEP, my youngest one. So
Mhm.
I was always on top of the notes. I wanted things to be signed and dated because I just wanted to make sure that we were pushing things along in a timely manner. because they have a lot of students. I get it. They have a lot of work. So
Mhm.
I keep a lot of teachers' notes, evaluations, samples of my children's work, where I've been able to notice that, one writes, like he's hurting the paper, if you will, like he's like making a hole while he's writing. So we needed to soften his writing. And so that's where I was able to see those, and bring that information into the teacher of, hey, this is what I'm seeing. So it does help. And I always, whenever I do approach things, I'll say things like, here's what I'm seeing at home, or what do you think is making the difference? I always try to keep it as positive, like we're both working together. We both want to find a solution. I'm not combative, because they're just teachers, right?
Mhm.
They're not really, and they are meant to advocate for our children, but not go the distance like a parent should.
Right. And parents, you guys are the best advocates for your children. So if you see something or you're feeling like something is wrong, or even if you're having the teacher saying it to you, like, and especially if the teacher is saying this to you, please don't get defensive.
No.
Know that the teacher is merely trying their best to help your child. I've seen wherein parents do get defensive. Although I am parents' biggest advocates, I'm gonna tell you guys as I see it as well, right? Like I've seen it where parents actually do get defensive that
Right.
their child is being considered for a special education evaluation. So it's very important for us to, as parents, to take our ego out
Mm-hmm.
of it, right?
Yes.
And let and let people who do want to help our children, it's okay.
Give
We
them an
want the help.
opportunity. Yes. And so I always, like, my child's about to graduate from speech,
Mhm.
and we've come a long way. So that, like, it just feels so good. But I just say that to say that, like, I look at things with a trajectory, not just right now. Because right now it doesn't matter if somebody's telling you that your child needs some services. Please get them, allow the schools to give the services. I know of a family who has denied that their child has autism, and they have decided to pull their child out of school. It's all an ego thing. Both of the parents just failed to admit that the child has a problem,
Mhm.
and it's not helping him. The child is not nonverbal. He's not getting the services. Early intervention is the best thing when it comes to autism.
Mhm. Mhm. Early intervention is key.
Yes.
So
And putting yourself to the side. There
yeah.
have been a lot of times where doctors give you so much information, teachers give you so much information, but you have to be able to separate yourself and, approach it like you would a job, something that you have to do to pay your bills. And you know what I mean? And approach it in that sense as something that we have to get done, and figure out what can I take on right now, or what would be, a quicker turnaround, if you will, so that we start seeing progress.
Absolutely. So, the key takeaway is start the communication with your teacher if you feel like you're having concerns. After you do your parent teacher conferences, if the teacher has given you information that you weren't aware of, and the teacher feels like your child might need extra support, just ask them what is in place, what is there for my child right now, and can you help me get it? What do I need to do? Because it support can never hurt your child, but not using the support can hold your child back. It's like I
Yeah,
always say that therapy doesn't stop you from being able to do anything, right?
right.
Like
Yeah,
getting therapy, getting intervention
yeah.
doesn't affect your child's ability to learn and grow and do things. So if it's being recommended and being paid for, and
And
you
also if you have the time and
and
the
if you have the
means to
time,
be able to
yeah.
get them there, because that's the biggest thing. I'm a single mom, so I definitely understand, being pulled in so many different directions and needing to get your child to a therapist. But I will say that because I am a single mom, I've been very good at being able to ask, is this something that we can push out, or is this something that we can do later on? What should I really be focusing on right now? And what I kept hearing across the board with us was speech. We needed to focus on speech and getting, his tongue moving and things like that. And so because of that, I pushed out physical therapy.
Right.
So we got physical therapy after we graduated OT because we needed to figure out the handwriting and the tying of the shoes and different things like that. So just know that, yes, there's so many services, but they're also delegate, figure out what do I need to focus on, because we are parents and we have so much on our plates. And time, I feel like time flies. So
Yeah, and having all these different therapies
yes.
can be overwhelming. It definitely can be overwhelming, especially now. Like a lot of children, they're getting ABA, and so you're not there's not enough time in the day to get ABA and be in school. So you have parents who are either choosing not to put their kids in school at all,
Yes.
or you have parents who are doing part-time ABA and part-time school and really juggling it. What I would say, guys, is you know what your family life is,
Yep.
you know what your children needs, and there's no judgment in choosing one over the other.
Right.
Just know that once you are doing what you think is best for your child, that's all that's important at this stage. Try not to be too overwhelmed. Just as Jen said, if there's certain things you can put aside,
Mm-hmm.
put it aside. Put it aside, and deal with what you can deal with in strides. And
Yes.
sometimes it's good you can just sit down with the school staff and just have a conversation. That is part of an IEP meeting,
Right.
right? An IEP meeting is not just when you're going once a year. You have the right to call an IEP meeting whenever you feel like you need an IEP meeting. Don't think, oh, I just had an IEP meeting. I have to wait till next year to have another IEP meeting. No, no, you have the right to call an IP meeting if there are changes you want to make to that IP, if things have changed in your life and you want to make a change in your child's educational plan, you have a right to call that meeting. So feel free, call a meeting and just brainstorm everything out with the school staff as to how best they can support you in you being able to do what you think your child needs at this point. So
Can I just say
IP is
something?
flexible.
Yes. And I would like to say that I want everyone to be able to do what they can do, because there's nothing harder, because I've done this where I want to do everything for my child and I'm burnt out, and then
Mhm.
I'm not being a good mom. I'm frustrated. Dinner isn't right, just nothing starts going right. That's the worst position to be in. So definitely give yourself permission to not do things. Not everything has to be done in the same year, in the same month, in the same 6 months. Like, you are able to set your own goals and expectations on how you want your year to go. Don't burn out, guys. These kids need us. They need positive energy so that they feel confident and they continue to make progress.
Absolutely. And guys, remember, if you guys have any questions or if you feel like Jen and I can support you in your journey, please reach out to us at schoollifeready at gmail.com. schoollifeready@gmail.com. And we'll be more than happy to do whatever we can, help guide you, talk to you. Jen and I, we've been on this journey now for 7 years, and we have a host of other parents who are willing to support you. So that's it for tonight, guys. Know that it's okay to ask for help, and don't ever feel scared to reach out to any health provider, being it your doctor or to any educational provider, and ask if you are having any questions. Don't be scared to ask.
Mm-mm.
Feel free to voice your concerns to your teacher about anything that's going on with your child. Teachers are more than teachers. That I think that's one of the greatest professions ever. And teachers, on a whole, are helpful and want to do right by you and your child. So don't be afraid to bring up any concerns. And if it's the teacher who brings up the concerns, remember, don't get defensive. Be open and willing to listen, and do whatever you have to do for your child.
Yeah, and remember, it's not about being behind or failing. It's about finding the right tools to help your child succeed. And everyone learns differently. Everyone's schedule is different. So don't compare yourself to anyone else. Just know that you're doing your best, and that's all that matters. And keeping a positive and light energy around your children, because they're so special. They're amazing.
Thank you for that. Well, I'm hoping like tonight's conversation, and I know how this works. There are parents out there who needed to hear this tonight, and the people who needed to hear it, they're gonna hear it. The
That's right.
people who needed to hear, it's okay. We have got your back. Everything is gonna work out just fine.
Yes.
Take it in strides. Just breathe, let go, and just take it in strides as it pertains to you getting help for your child if your child needs help. So, with that, we're going to end tonight's episode. I feel like tonight's episode was really just more like talking to friends out there.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, guys. Well, we'll see you next week on another episode of School Life Ready Talks, where we talk all things pertaining to parenting and educating children with disabilities. Again, thank you all for joining us tonight, and y'all have a great rest of the week.
Thank you. Bye, guys. Good night.
Good night.
Bye.